Gary or Kevin or Charles, do you have a dream that you want to go over? Kevin, you're due.
Yeah, sure. I have a simple dream. I can
Sure.
share.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. I was in Norway, the capital,
Mm-hmm.
and I was on this red big bus,
Mm-hmm.
and I ended up going out, and I wanted to go back in, but they just drove away from me. So what happened was I went to the in Norway we have something I think it's called a tram or trick. It's like
Yeah.
yeah. So I went to catch a tram
Mm-hmm.
uh, where my mother and her friend was,
Mm-hmm.
and we were going to a restaurant. So I just followed them. So we went in. So I went when I went into the tram, they were already there. Then we went out.
Who was it? Your mother and who? Kevin, why don't for just a second you kill your video?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
just kill your video for a second.
Up video. Okay.
Yeah, just for a second, and then you can put it back on.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Now, it was your mother and
yeah.
who
So we
was
were in
on the tram? Your
uh,
mother
this and her friend.
and her friend.
Oh, she works on in the store here, like next to here. She's not really my mother friend as such. She's just she works in a store, so but everyone knows each other. So she's a motherly figure, which has association to her.
Mm-hmm.
And we were going to a restaurant. On our way to the restaurant, there was this Pakistani guy that I seems to be approaching my mom, and I was thinking he might try to rob her. So I tried. So I start making fun of him, call him dog, and he got mad, and we started speaking in Urdu, and yeah, so I realized he got really mad, so he wanted to throw stone at me, so I made him relax a bit, and so yeah, so we both come down, and yeah, apparently he was going to the same restaurant, so he just left, and so the funny part was this one was that in going into the restaurant, we needed to go down, like it was a tunnel down. So it was quite a small tunnel. So I'm somewhat claustrophobic in that sense. So my mom and her went down, and and afterwards I went in. And when I went down, I was like, "Oh, how did they manage to go in the restaurant so quickly? Because in order to get down, you had to go through, like you have to push a metal piece up and get in." So I went into the restaurant, and in the restaurant, I meet two of my sister and my mother's friend. Yeah, my mother's friend. They were sitting together, and I give two of my sister a hug, and I asked them like, "Where is mom?" So we are like inside a restaurant which was underground, but I have a feeling this was somewhat connection to upstairs as well. And so they said that they don't know. So I went around looking for my mother, and so I could see this place wasn't quite prepared yet. It looked like they just opened and they are preparing. And so yeah, so there was. So I just went and looking for her. Then I woke up.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go over this one. Okay. So, you're in the capital of Norway, which is Oslo. You're riding in a red bus. You get out of the red bus, and you meant to get back on, but it leaves you there. Do you know why you got out? If you wanted to
No,
get right back on, you don't. Okay.
no.
All right. Okay. So then you take a tram, and already on the tram is is your mother and your friend. Hi, Ivan, and
Yes.
Adam, and everybody. You're going to a restaurant, and then you meet a shadow figure who is he is Now, how do you speak Urdu? Do you speak Urdu?
Yeah, I used to speak it before, but I haven't done for many years. But yeah,
Okay,
I
all
could.
right. Well, do you have a connection with Pakistan?
Yes, Pakistani. I grew up with a lot of Pakistani people.
Okay, you grew up with a lot of Pakistani people. So you feel a threat against your mother and her friend that he is going to try to rob them, and so you try to prevent the robbery by ridiculing him,
Mm.
and then you speak to him in Urdu. At that point, you both calm down and he leaves. Is that a good
Yes. Yeah.
summary? Okay. So then now you're going into this restaurant. You have to have you're going into a descent. Okay. Now the feminine goes in there very easily, just slides in, but you have a little more problem descending than it does. They do. Okay. But then when you get down, now your mother and her friend went down.
Mm.
But then when you get down there, you see the friend and your two sisters. So there is
Yes.
no, so there is no, your mother is missing. So that's a factor that comes up in a lot of Ivan's dreams. The
Yeah, my
fourth.
mother and her friend. My mother and her friend, because when I went down, it was three different figures, which is two of my sister and another mother figure. But so there were three. Yeah. So my mother and her friend was missing. Like I was looking
Okay,
for them.
so the mother and the friend is missing. So actually, what happened is the two sisters replaced the mother and the friend, but your two sisters were already there. So,
That's
so your mother and your friend go down there, they disappear, and they're replaced by two sisters in this
mm,
kind of, in a after you went into the depths where there's a restaurant where there's nourishment, being provided. But at this point, the restaurant is not really open. It's not open yet. And so then you go looking for your mother and your friend, and it's you. That's the end of the dream, right?
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Kevin, do you have that typed out? Could you put it in the chat window?
Yeah. Let me see if I can do that. Chat. I did take a copy of it. Past. Um, I just hope I can send it.
Okay. Roy,
Then
yeah,
okay.
yeah. Roy, did
Yes.
you ever get your thing in the chat?
I see that Zoom doesn't support text edit, which is what I have, and it doesn't
Okay,
support it,
that's
so
okay.
I can't get it in.
Could you email it to me?
Sure, and I can also read it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. As soon as
I'll
we get.
email it, and I can put it in message. If
Yeah,
you want, I can
yeah.
put it in
Why don't
message.
you do that, and then we'll finish Kevin's dream, and then we just want to go over a little bit of Roy's dream because it was such a very moving dream. Okay, so I'm going here that you're going into the northern land,
Mm.
and you're on a this collective vehicle, which seems to be the feeling function. Your dominant function is thinking. Okay, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So it's red. It has the color of the feeling function. It's a collective, so it tends to, and those vehicles and houses and gardens tend to be represent the mother. And you leave the feeling function, it leaves you. Okay, and so you're left there standing. So then you get on a tram, which is a little bit different. It's not the red bus. It's kind of a modern subway. I've been on it
Mhm.
several times, but uh, you're in there. You see your mother and your friend. So now that there's the two feminine on this vehicle, that is just riding through here. And then the shadow appears. The shadow seems to be a threat to the feminine function. So you try to defend the feminine function through mocking and ridicule. Okay. And then, but you could speak the language of the shadow. And when you do, you both calm down. And then he disappears. Then you're going to go down the mother and her friend, you know, so the maternal and her companion go to make a descent. Okay. It's they do it very easily. You cannot do it quite so easily. You have to push metal things. So you have to, I mean, there's a, you're going to have to use almost the thinking function to get in, or the sensation, but anything but feeling. But to make the descent, you can't do it like the feeling function does. It takes some kind of an effort. Okay, and down there now, the two sisters have replaced the mother and her companion, and you, the sisters don't know where your mother is and her companion is, yet you're going to find them. So the descent is into it apparently is the realm of the feminine, you know, because there's a lot of feminine aspects there, you know, and yet the feminine aspect you're looking for, the two sisters would be more of an anima type. The mother and her companion are going to be more of the maternal type. So you are not really, and of course the sisters as an anima figure are a lot different than a somebody who isn't your sister. So they're all relatives, but the relatives that you need are the maternal aspect. And so you're going to go search for them in the depths. You're searching for the maternal and the companion.
Looks
Okay.
like we lost Kevin.
Yeah, go ahead. Oh, we lost Kevin?
Yeah.
Okay, he'll be back.
Yeah.
Okay, does anybody, Roy, do you want to start with this?
Sure.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Because I was so distracted.
Yeah, okay, sorry.
I'm gonna like pass because it's not
Okay,
really
sure.
clear. My train of thought.
How about you, Gary?
I've only got a partial. I'd rather wait until I have a full one.
Okay,
The first
all right.
one isn't that interesting.
Okay, all right. How about you, Adam? Did you have any comments or not? By the way, I want to just thank you for that beautiful exercise you did. It was
Oh,
amazing.
thank you.
It really
Thank you.
was. It was. I don't know where you came up with that, but the one Gary did the week before was good too. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, thanks. So, well, one quick question. Did this start like over an hour ago? Because I thought I was supposed to start like
No,
10 minutes ago.
No, it started 10 minutes ago.
Oh, good.
We
Okay.
started talking about it a little early. You know,
Gotcha.
I think it just started. I maybe we started a couple minutes early.
Okay.
But
good.
but you know, it's basically the dream is that he is in the capital of Norway, which is Oslo. He's on
Okay.
a red bus. He goes out. He wants to get back on. It leaves. So he gets on a tram. There he finds the maternal and her companion. They're going to a restaurant. He accompanies them. And then he meets the shadow. The shadow seems to be a threat to the maternal. He defends the maternal and her companion by mocking and ridiculing the shadow. And they There's an altercation. They speak in Urdu together. Both calm down. The shadow leaves. Then, with the maternal and her companion, then they descend. They go down into the depths, which happens to be a place where, in a ritual fashion, nourishment's provided. Okay, and then, but they don't have any difficulty descending. Um, Kevin has to deal with metal doors, with contraptions to open the doors, okay, to get down there. So it's not easy for him. For the ones who represent Eros and the feeling function, they just can descend easily. For the one who's in the thinking function, there's all kinds of obstacles to get there, okay, and they're not easy to overcome. And down there, so now he's looking for the maternal. Instead, he finds the
Sisters.
not the fraternal, but what would they call a sisters? The sisterhood. So he's looking for the motherhood, and he finds the sisterhood. So then he's finding a feminine that is more equal with him. That it's not the enveloping feminine. You know, it might not be the feminine of the bridge to the self, but it's not the enveloping feminine, and it's still a feminine that we can relate to. You know, I often have dreams of my sisters, and I always treat them as the anima. I don't treat them as a sister. Um, just for interpretive sake. I don't know whether that's correct or not. You know, and then so then can't find. So then he leaves the sisters and goes to find the maternal. So I would say that the one thing is the descent. He's descending into the depths with the mothers, but they go down easily because they represent the feminine and the maternal function. Because Kevin is a thinking function person, he has to deal with obstacles, and it's not as easy for him to descend as with others. There's a sense of claustrophobia going down there. It's a constricting tunnel. So it's almost like going back into the uterine canal. You know, you're going into the uterine canal, and there is a sense of claustrophobia. So he's kind of returning to the womb a little bit in the depths, but yet the mother's not there. You know, who's there is a feminine aspect, but it's not the mother's. So I would say for it is an anima, but it's not one that inspires inspiration. You know, that inspires fascination. Let's say, you know, the sisters, they are feminine, but they don't really inspire. They don't fascinate us like a potential mate would. But yet we don't. So this feminine aspect, which is feminine, yet it is difficult for us to develop with this feminine. So it's a feminine aspect that is there, that we can talk with it, and actually what's missing is the projection. See, we don't really project onto the sisters, the anima projection. Most of us don't. So it's a feminine aspect, yet it is one that is neutral. So it's a neutral feminine. But if we're going to go down through the tunnel, through the uterine canal, into the depths of the where the mother is, we want to find the mother and her companion. They're missing. So that's the mystery of the dream, that we went into the depths, we've lost the maternal, that we are searching for them there, you know. So Norway to me would represent would be almost like the realm of the ancestors, okay, I'm returning to the realm of the ancestors. I'm riding on a feminine vehicle of the feeling function. I get off, I can't get back on. I have a problem with the feeling function. I get back on a tram. There's the mother and her companion there. They are going to make a descent. The shadow there is there to frustrate me from this. They're going to attack the maternal in us. The shadow, for some reason, is attacking the maternal and her companion, or potentially a threat. We try to defend the maternal from our own shadow, by the way. You know, you know, to me that would say that we have somewhat of a problematical relationship with the maternal. There's an aspect of us that is hostile to the maternal, you know, and there's an aspect of us that wants to defend the maternal. So you know, it's an ambiguous relationship with the maternal. Okay, then but both of you calm down. You've reduced the threat to the maternal from your own shadow self, you know, and so now you can now resume. See, so that was sort of another obstacle, another, let's say it's a resistance to this descent with the ego, for, even despite its best plans, is encounters resistance in the descent with the mothers to the realm of the mothers, you know, from its own shadow, from a part of itself that is hostile to the maternal, you know, and then yet you don't. Go ahead, Adam. I pretty much just repetitive now, aren't I? Go ahead.
No.
Yeah.
It was just because of that particular spot. The thing that struck me, and it may not be on target at all, is that it seemed like in order to resolve the issue with that shadow figure, if you want to call it that, Kevin actually had to speak in the same language as
Yes.
that shadow figure. Yeah.
Yes.
Which to me, I don't know if Kevin relates to it like this, but that's almost like an act of empathy. That's like relating to it on its own terms, which is kind of a feeling function type of thing.
Yeah, it's at least relatedness. I mean, you speak the language of, you speak the secret or the source language of that element within you that is hostile to the maternal in yourself. And through that you calm it down. You know, it is a different aspect of, it's a foreign aspect in you, and a foreign aspect in you that speaks a different language. You do know the language, it's not your first language. And that does, like Adam says, calms it down when you speak to it in you speak its own source language. And then that threat to the maternal, which is probably just a resistance in the ego to the maternal, there is an ambiguous relationship shown in this dream to the maternal. You know, I mean, the ability that you can't that the shadow side of ourself is openly threatening to the maternal in us. Okay, and then you descend. It is difficult for you to descend, and not only that, going through the tunnel is very difficult and fearful. It's fearful. Okay, well, I mean, I think I've got it. I don't know the message yet, but Roy, how about you? You got any more comments?
This is a very hard one, but something interesting that came to me was it seemed like he's bonding better with the male, than the female. You know,
Yeah.
so it was better relating. That
Yes.
sort of struck me.
Yeah, I mean that's a point. Seems like the point of the dream is that is we're in the land of the ancestors. Here, we're not sure what's going to happen, but after kind of a misadventure with the feeling function, we find the maternal, yet then we can't, there's two resistances to this relationship with them, three of them. There's the shadow side of ourself is openly hostile. The second is that we have very great difficulty making the descent into the realm of the mothers, and when we get there, they're missing. And so I would say that, don't you think this is showing that there is a missing relationship, or an ambiguous relationship, or some type of inability to establish a positive relationship with the eternal feminine, the great mother, within us. There's an aspect of here of this. The great mother, let's just say, is the ground, is rootedness, is really somewhat related to the rhizome within us, this our real root. We're having a problem having this relationship with this nurturing nature within us. And it's, I think the best symbol of it is the metal doors. The fact that they're for us to unlock them is not natural. Gary, well, how about you, Ivan and Charles? We haven't heard from you. Ivan, what do you think?
I don't have anything on this dream. I think it's really interesting, but I don't know what to make of it.
Okay, I'm getting closer. What about you, Charles?
It's it seems like it's like the opening scene for a series to me, because he basically arrives somewhere. That's kind of the conclusion. He's arriving somewhere, and it's interesting that the red bus is going to get you here, but no further. And it's sort of that piece has done its job. Now the tram, is that like a little underground train thing?
It or
is it above ground?
Above and below.
Oh, okay.
Mostly below.
I'm not sure what to make about that.
It's an underground vehicle, isn't it? Mostly in Oslo, Kevin?
Trump is above, and yes, like connecting, like in San Francisco, they have like a lot of tram, like.
Yeah, Chicago, it's similar.
Yeah, it has to be up. Yeah.
Elevated and lower. So it's both above and below ground. It's not a train. It's unless you're coming from the airport, it's just a train.
No, it's not a train.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not as autonomous as a bus. It's on a track.
Yeah. It's more collective. Yeah, it's more guided. It's not red.
Well, I read the chat too, and there's a lot of information in there in the actual written account.
Yeah, I gotta look
and just the interaction with the shadow is really interesting. That it's a perceived threat, and make amends by speaking his language and relating to him. And it seems like all of these inner figures are actually, it's dinner time apparently, and everyone is trying to convene here. And it also says that Kevin says that he's felt like he's been there before, but not the entire restaurant had been open previously. And maybe more sections of it now are open.
Yeah.
And it's a multi-level restaurant. And so he thinks that maybe his mom and her friend are actually on a different level of it now, which is really interesting.
Yeah, they,
I
what,
I was just gonna say, I actually just the other day had a dream where I was trying to take a bus to Japan, and then met up with my anima, and we were trying to get there. This happened just recently, so I thought it was pretty interesting.
well, that's one of the things that really sticks out at me, and I don't know why, but it's just funny that when you get on this tram, this anonymous collective vehicle, it just so happens the mother and the companion unexpectedly are there. You didn't expect them to be there. They're there. It's a very interesting coincidence. So it seems to be that this is their vehicle, and you knew that unconsciously. And then when you go down into the depths, where you should find the maternal, it just so happens that your two sisters are there. You know, I mean, they just coincidence, unexpectedly, they're there. You know, and I mean, I don't know what to make of it, but it was a part of the dream that very much surprised me. What do you think, Gary?
Well, I'm interpreting this pretty simply. And, I guess I would look at, it'd be interesting to hear maybe what's going on and, personally in your life right now. But, to me, it's a dream all about connections. It's like you're on the red bus, you get off, you can't get back on, you can't make that connection. So then you go to the tram and your mother's there, but the shadow is there also. And the shadow is kind of like between you and the mother. So it's like you can't really get close to the mother because you have to deal with the shadow. And then, there's the trip to the underground restaurant, but that's like, I mean, it's all constrained and there's gates and there's all these things that stop you from being able to move to, once again, connect to whatever it is. And then when you get there, instead of getting the connection that you expect, it's the sisters, and it's in an environment that is not what you would hope for. So, it's not the connection that you want. So I guess I would ask, like, what's going on in your personal life that would remind you of, like, connection issues?
I can perhaps add to that, Gary. My sister was with another woman, which is my mother's friend, and my association to her, she is like an old wise woman. I also remember, like, I used to visit her sometimes, and sometimes she used to make medicines, like her own medicine, which she gave up to people. She's also from Pakistan, and so she used to make the sugar, and she used to put something on the sugars, which would make it somewhat of a medicine, which her friend would ask from her. And the thing what happened to me, which I found struck with this dream, was that the days I read the book called Black Madonna, and it was like active imagination and dream analysis of Black Madonna. And so in that book, it was a lot of tunnel visions and this descent. And for me, this was a profound dream because I descended. Since I was young, I used to see like a black place, and I said to myself, one day I'm gonna go in there. But I was always afraid that if I go in there, I will never come out again. And I said, so I felt like this was one of them. I actually just went in, because when you go in, once I lift out the thing, I go in. You don't know if you're gonna go out again. But luckily, it was a restaurant, so yeah. So yeah, that's.
Well, I think it shows you're brave. I mean, it shows that you go into this place, and it is you don't seem to be showing abject, a lot of fear. But I do think that if I was to look at this dream, I would say that there is just a very mysterious relationship with the feminine. First of all, with the maternal. It just seems mysterious. The reason it seems mysterious is because there's a surface side to it and there's a depth side to it. And the surface side doesn't seem to be a problem, but the depth side, they're missing. They're not there. We don't seem to have a problem with them on the surface, but in the depths, we find the neutral feminine, you know, a feminine that we can't really project the anima image on, and is also not the great mother. You know, it is almost a an elfin like feminine, you know, one that is neither um, uh, eh, full of eros and is not the source. It's just this sort of neutral type of feminine. That's what we find in the depths. We don't find there the mysterium conjunctionis. We don't find the eros there. We don't find the maternal there. In the depths, all we find with the feminine is a true feminine, but not a feminine that is has a lot of fascination. So the feminine that we find in the depths does not have fascination. The maternal in the depths is missing. The surface maternal is fine, there's no problem, but once we descend, it's gone. And the feminine relationship we have in the depths does not possess for that fascination. It possesses it's almost a placeholder for the feminine, you know. So the idea is, how do we awaken the fascination in the depths, or find, because it's missing, either a relationship to the deep mother realm or to the realm of the anima, you know. Now, you can say the sisters are the anima, but why are they the sisters? I mean, it just depends on what your relationship with your sisters is. Like I say, if it's my sister, I treat it as an anima, but I don't. Again, the only thing I can say is it's not a sense of and then the shadow. There's an aspect of us that is hostile to the feminine, and then we to descend into the depths. We're blocked not by wooden doors, but by metal doors. You know, sort of a much harder, much harder, more opaque, less natural obstacle. It's a very, you know, almost an artificial obstacles, metal. You know, I mean, that's something that has to be forged and put in there. So that's what I would get from it, is that there is an aspect of the feminine in the depths, which is right now currently is missing.
Kevin, a quick question. The wise woman, where was she? She was in the depths, or she was on the trance?
Yeah,
or-
she was with my two sisters. Like, my association to her is like she's my mother's friend, but she has she's quite, yeah, she really treated me nice. Every time I was there, she always gave me food. But she also reminds me of this, like I said, she used to make medicine. Like, at times when I went to her, she used to use like this circle sugar. She used to add something to it because her friends wanted, but she's not a doctor, but it was like, you know, a remedy, like your herbal for Pakistan.
Yeah.
Mhm.
She's a healer.
Interesting that was in the depths too. No?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, that would be. I would like to think about this one for a couple days, and maybe I might do a write up, especially since you've got a write up in the chat. Okay, Roy, could we look at Roy's thing real quick here? Just kind of, we're going to review the shoe bill dream,
Yeah, did you put it up there? That
It
was
is
you,
in the
Greg?
chat.
That was that. Thank
Yes, it is in
you.
the chat.
Okay, a few things I wanted to say on that. It was interesting that Kevin noticed the trickster element of the dream. And, and I sort of went with that. And I think this thing was a sit up. I mean, think about it, Greg. You got like the Garden of Eden that we talk about, was kind of a sit up. You've got Abraham and Isaac, which is sort of sit up where Abraham was going to sacrifice his son. You've got these Bible stories and myths, you know, like Job. And who's setting this up? Well, it's the trickster. Well, I called the shoebill stork. I got a name for him. I call him Danger Bird, and I had some communication with him, and something kept pointing me towards the Red Book, and I reread Isdubar chapter, and I see you put the quote up there. Everybody can read it, or I'll read it.
Go ahead.
Okay, the divine primordial power is blind, since its face has become human. The human is the face of the Godhead. If the God comes near you, then plead for your life to be spared, since the God is loving horror. The ancients said, "It is terrible to fall into the hands of the living God." They spoke thus because they knew, since they were still close to the ancient forest, and they turned green like the trees in a childlike manner and ascended far away towards the east. Consequently, they fell into the hands of the living God. They learned to kneel and to lie with their faces down, to beg for pity, and they learned to live in servile fear and to be grateful. But he who saw him, the terrible, beautiful one with his black velvet eyes and the long eyelashes, the eyes that do not see but merely gaze lovingly and fearfully, he has learned to cry out and whimper so that he can at least reach the ear of the Godhead. Only your fearful cry can stop the God. And then you see that the God also trembles, since he stands confronting his face, his observing gaze in you, and feels unknown power. The God is afraid of man. And that's what happened to me in this dream. When I was face to face with the danger bird, I was just terrified. My wife woke me up. You know, it was like awe and terror. It was like this whole thing was set up. I was baited with the little dog that I wanted to save, because my main archetype is the white knight, and I go around and save things in trouble. And the danger bird was curious about me, because I'm human and I have an ego and I have consciousness. It wants to contact me. And we had the trickster put this together, and we met each other, and I saw him and he saw me. I mean, it was just awesome. I mean, I believe this is really real stuff. This is what we're talking about. You know, trying to meet in the middle world and meet these figures, meet these gods that Jung was talking about with Isdubar. I mean, it's just an awesome thing.
Izdubar actually was Gilgamesh. That was the name for Gilgamesh before they discovered it. But I was just actually reading about Izdubar today, too. I don't know why, but you know, one of the interesting things is, see, Jung poisons Izdubar, who comes from the east. Jung comes from the land of the west. He's going to the land of light. Izdubar is coming from the east to go to the west, where the sun sets. You know, and they meet. He wants to know about the sunset. In where does it touch land in the west? And Jung tells him, well, it really, the earth is round. You know, the earth revolves around the, he says, what poison is this? You know, and it lames him so he can't walk. And so then he becomes paralyzed. And then Jung discovers that he's so light that he can, since he's a fantasy or an image figure, he occupies neither space nor time, so he can just pick him up and carry him, even though he's a giant. And it was very, and Jung is not normal size; he's childlike size, and he brings in this thing about Saint Christopher was told that his way of entering this the secret wisdom was to help people who cross a ford, to carry them across the river. And he carries this child. He finds the child is extremely heavy and he can't hold him. It turns out to be Christ, and who's has within him the sins of the world, but he can't carry him, this child, because he's so heavy. But here Jung is a child, and the God is so light that he's almost carries him off. So it's this opposite thing. But anyway, just let's. Can you? I just want to go through the objects of the dream again, and you've added to it with your active imagination. But you know, you go into the fruit and spice park, which is somewhat like the land of Eden. You when you get there, you suddenly get a great lift, and you're able to fly, and your wings are very powerful, and you fly above the treetops, and then you come over a plowed field, a field that is ready for seeding, yet is not seeded yet. You see down there the instincts in the form of a dachshund, but that's a very man-shaped instinct. It's not very wild. It's one that's been, you know, bred into almost parody of its former self, you know, yet it is somewhat as instinct. And you go down there, and it turns into to a cat. A cat always lands on its feet, you know, so you're coming down there, and it turns into this feminine aspect, you know, and then the shoebill stork comes over, scares you because it's the danger bird. It doesn't like these very man-shaped wild instincts in this plowed field. You know, the one that's ready for the divine seed. You know, it's sort of guarding it, and so it was going to remove them. But now that was kind of what we left it last time. What did your active imagination tell you that was in addition? Could you review that one more time?
Of course, I did my motive, which is like the white knight. I'm trying to rescue a helpless thing, and then I had an active imagination with the danger bird, and he told me first, kind of like you're saying, you know, I felt what he was going to say was, oh, I was just going to eat these things. You know, who do I care about these domestic things? But what he said was, I'm jealous because these aren't wild animals anymore. They're domestic animals, and they have more consciousness than I do.
Yes.
And I want some consciousness.
Beautiful.
You know, I want some consciousness. And it just blew me over. I said, whoa, I didn't expect that. That's what it said.
Well, it's beautiful, and it's wonderful. It's a wonderful comment. These instinctual aspects have more consciousness.
That ties into Adam. You know, you had to retract your thing about animals because Adam, you know, said something, and I'm glad he did, because they have consciousness, probably more so than wild animals, even though wild animals have some consciousness too.
Yeah, well, they participate in the world of consciousness as a domestic animal or something. So, and then now, how do you tie that in with Is-Dubar? Just the fact that that
he was a god. The danger bird is a
god. Is a god.
It's like
Yes.
Is-Dubar. He came from the east. He was going to be poisoned and paralyzed that's what attracted Istubar. He says, what is all this logos crap going on? You know, it's interfering with our world, you know. And so he was going to the West to see what was happening here. You know, the logos is poisoning the universe, and it paralyzed Istubar. And I think Danger Bird, it's disturbed him too, because he's like Istubar. Okay, what's going on here with this logo stuff?
Well, and see, the East is where dawn consciousness is, and the West is where evening consciousness is. And dawn is the place of rebirth. The West is the place of is really the place of death. And it's also symbolized in Izdubar as the place of the, and that's where Jung comes from, of the poison of the logos, the poison of the thinking function. It's really what it is. It's the thinking function makes everything brown. That's what Jung says in the red. All the people who live in the towns of the West are brown stained from the thinking function. I mean, they've lost the color of feeling, which should be more colorful. The thinking function turns everything a dull color. So anyway, so let me see if I can restate what I think you're saying is that this wonderful shoe-billed stork, which is actually a member of the pelican family, is the reason it approaches these domesticated instincts is because it's jealous of their consciousness. And this comes from the fact that the depth longs for the light. That's what Jung said about, there was no devils in Greece. If you went to Mount Olympus, you would find all the underground deities there, including the Kabiri, and so these were all these underground figures that longed for the light, would always go to Mount Olympus. And there was less conflict because, again, the middle realm was there, as I think you were stating, Roy, that in our world there is no middle realm of soul. It's been wiped out pretty much by the thinking function. I mean, it makes the this realm of the magical. Well, the middle realm is the realm of psyche, and that's the realm that's been eliminated by the thinking function. Gary, I think I'd like to hear everybody's comments on this. It's a little bit of a parable. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, that whole thing with why is he there? He wants additional consciousness, and that he stands over the field ready for planting. I mean, that's what gets me. It's like he wants consciousness, and he stands over the field ready for planting. So, he knows where to be, and he knows what to expect. And and you interpret it as somewhat of a threat to the instinctual, but in a way, I almost wonder if you shouldn't be defending that, and if maybe that's why the instinctual turned into something different. I don't know. I haven't got that part figured out, but that's my comment.
Well, I'm out of this instinct thing. I'm saying the domestic animals have more consciousness.
Right.
The danger
Right.
bird, it's not an instinct thing at all.
And the danger bird is jealous of them,
right,
because of the fact that they have more consciousness.
It's a sit-up. I'm curious, just like Kevin was talking about, the trickster, sit this up, just like the Garden of Eden, all the stuff. There's some element, we probably call him, Mercurius, that sits these things up. And this is how we get to be aware of the light, or have the light, or have more consciousness. It might be the self doing this. I don't know, but it's something doing this in the unconscious that has created more consciousness in the universe.
What do you think, Adam? I mean, it's just a little bit of a parable that well, first of all, I think it's just, let me just review one thing, is this beautiful image of the danger birds standing at the edge of this plowed field, waiting for seed, waiting to be seeded. And you come into it. I mean, you're evidently what it's waiting for. You return to that era, and it comes out and sees that you also have brought, or there's coincidental with your appearance, the domesticated instincts, and it is saying they have what I want. So they're really saying you have what I want. What do you think, Adam?
Yeah, it's I'm just shooting from my gut here, but for me, what seems to be key is what Roy said about that the danger bird is actually jealous of the domesticated animals because they have more consciousness. So I don't know if this is the case or not, but sometimes, I mean, I can speak from my own experience, my limited experience. Sometimes I have like really intense things, which are like, the whole vision thing and the stuff that seems to be very supernatural and numinous and stuff like that. But I also find that it's really important to integrate that like into daily life. And I don't know if this fits at all for Roy, or if this makes any sense to you, but I mean, I think there is value, even though that like the archetypical stuff is like amazing and it's powerful. It's like, how does that fit into like my daily life? Because that's kind of where the rubber hits the road, does that, I don't know if that resonates in any way.
Well,
yeah.
What do you think, Roy, or did you have any comments? Or?
Yeah, you have to be grounded. You have, modern man feels a lot of inferiority because of all the pressure on him to be a god, and he knows he's way from a god. I mean, he has a lot of inferiority. Jung talks about this, but he compensates for that with all this inflation. And that's where a lot of this new age stuff comes from. So Jung spends a lot of time talking about the body and talking about grounding. You have to ground these things. It's crucial, to keep a handle on the inflation.
Yeah.
And, God is Dubar. God is inferior of man. I mean, basically what I would say that means is that that the one thing God does not possess is ego awareness, this awareness in the outer world, which is directed thinking, does not exist in the mythical realms. Ivan, do you have any comments, or Charles?
I don't have anything to add on this one.
Okay. How about you, Charles?
Yeah, after reading it a couple times, I totally get why Roy says that it's like a setup. It to me, it's like the danger bird is like hijacking the white knight function or complex. And it's like, I knew that this would work. This would get your attention. I could confront you this way if I put this little bait out here. Then I could meet up with you. So I guess, yeah, then in daily life, in waking life, I don't know, I'm curious if when that function or complex is activated, if like there's a feeling or some sort of, I don't know, something kind of that wants to express itself within like the danger bird, if it's kind of present when that complex is activated.
Well, it's sort of interesting because I just assume the danger bird was going to eat these animals. And the danger bird assumed, oh, he has the white knight complex and I can bait him with this.
Yes.
But what really happened was an encounter of the human with the God. And, you know, as it says in Istubar, the human face is what the God sees. It's what danger bird sees, and it's afraid of it. It's not going to show that, but it is. And of course, I'm afraid of seeing a God, Istubar, danger bird, because it fills me full of terror and awe. You know, and what happened was way beyond the white knight and eating a small animal. What happened was an encounter of the human face with a God. I mean, that's the underlying incredible thing about it. You know, to have that experience while I'm passed out dreaming and wake up terrified. You know, I had that experience. I know it's real.
Yeah, I mean the whole thing. The idea is that I think that the God needs our consciousness, and we need God's meaning. You know, and God, there is no meaning without without consciousness. So I mean, it's really uh, the confrontation of the divine and um, the the human, you know, is what you're seeing here. I just wanted to quick show this one, if I can get it real quick here. Let me see. Oh wait, no, we go here. Just want to show one thing here. Okay. You see that? That's the
very
face.
one.
That's the shoe-billed stork. Now, that is absolutely there. I don't know of another creature on Earth who has a face that gains more respect from me than the shoe-billed stork. I mean, that is a truly a magnificent face. It really is. Anyway, this is a dream for the ages, Roy, and I really do mean that sincerely. I mean, it's one I'll never forget. You know. Now, Ivan or Adam, do you either one have dreams that you'd like to bring? You'd have one, Adam?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah.
And we want one from
I don't
Ivan
want to
too.
impinge on Ivan though.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I'm sorry for dropping by only when I have something
No.
for you guys.
Let's go, man. That's what we're here for. We're in it.
Okay.
We don't know nothing. Go ahead.
All right. Yeah. Neither do I. This one is kind of. It occurred to me to share it because of something that Charles shared in an email thread, which was about finding the gold, you know, and I mentioned it in the thread, but I'm going to read it. I wrote it by hand, so I can't actually type it in at the moment. But so I'm underground. I'm coming from the depths toward the surface. There are young men, like college students, carrying large, rough-hewn automotive scrap metal, which is made of gold, but it's very rough and industrial, and they're coming from the left, and I'm going towards the left. At the same time, there are members of a totalitarian army there. They seem intent on clamping down. Somehow I'm able to infiltrate through them. I'm not sure if the army detains the young men or lets them through. Then the scene changes. I'm driving up the street where I grew up, which happened to be called Smooth Path, which is sort of true. I had a smooth path, more or less growing up. Some setbacks. I'm in the back of the vehicle, which is very large, It's like being in the back of a tractor trailer, but with windows, maybe bus-like, or like a pickup truck with a covered trailer bed. In the cab area is an old man driving. There's also a young man up there who appears dead, but he might not be. Then the old man at the top of the street decides to jump out of the vehicle. From the back, I'm able to put my foot on the brake to keep us from driving into the cross street, having an accident. And then kind of collectively, we managed to turn the vehicle around and drive back down the street. And I'm now in command. And the third part of the stream is pretty like far out here. We're then sitting at a large boardroom table. It's like an executive military attache's office. We're having a meeting. The old man who had been driving is in charge, leading the meeting. He's talking and talking, but nobody can understand what he's saying, which upsets me greatly. And he seems to be falling asleep. And the really scary thing is that the fate of the entire Western world is in this man's hands, and he's both in a position of enormous power and enormously incompetent, which is terrifying.
Okay. All right. Now, you can look at this from two different levels, but we'll start out with the personal, okay?
Okay.
Okay, I mean, you can look at it, the collective too, but you know, you're underground, you're in the depths, you're studying, what are you studying there?
Well, I'm not studying. There's these young men who seem to be college
students are coming from the left. Yeah. Students. So these would be you're in the depths. There is the new thing that's learning is learning, and it's coming from the left. So the new things to be the new way of learning, or the ones who are learning. The new parts of us that are learning things are coming from the left and from the depths, and and now there is a aspect now of a totalitarian aspect. So this would represent a resistance to this new thing that's coming from the left, coming from the depths. There is a resistance. Now, if I was having this dream, I would say that there are aspects, and this is hard to imagine with you, Adam. I'm just saying it's hard to imagine with you, but that there's aspects in me that there is a something in. Now, I would say if I was to talk about totalitarian aspects, I would, of course, this is me, I would think of the Puer Aeternus and the Senex, the old king. The old king does not want the new thing to come in, and it is going to do everything it can to stop the new thing from coming, but somehow you get by it, and so you infiltrate the students. Is that right?
I infiltrate the military.
The military. So you're so now they haven't discovered you, or what happened to the students? Do you remember?
So it's not clear whether or not the students got shut down or not, but somehow I was like invisible, or they considered me neutral, so I was able to pass through.
Okay, so you didn't really become a member of the group, did you?
No.
Okay, you just went through, and you were not say detained, let's say. Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, I to me, this would be the I'm thinking of the kingdom without space in the Puer Aeternus as the old king who does not want the newness to come, You know,
Yeah.
I mean, he says, here's what he says there. Here's what he says about the students coming from the left. This is what the totalitarian world says. It says, nobody knows their real essence. They approach you like wandering boys, like animals, like girls. They seduce you into chaos and darkness. That's the left and the depth. Somewhere they have a kingdom, but I cannot find the entrance. They are never there. They are always here. They are in several places at the same time. I must find the way into their realm. I must destroy their kingdom. These free people must be subdued. Their wild love must die. I will cut them off from the realm of sleep, and no one shall ever sleep again. You know, I mean, the idea here is that this is to me, the students coming from the left are the are the becoming thing, you know, the thing that's to become, the thing that is always becoming. Life is a becoming thing. The only thing that's new with us is the images that come from our experience, you know, how the meaning that we provide to the experience, which is always a momentary meaning. But anyway, that's what I would say, that there's that from the left comes the new meaning, and the old king does not want this new meaning to come in, this wildness, this forces of chaos and darkness that's going to destroy the old order, you know, because it will be destroyed once these new students come in. Okay, so then the second part of the dream is you're driving on what's called the smooth path. Okay.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. Okay, you're driving on the smooth path, and you're riding in the back of. Now, this is a typical dream that I have this one all the time.
Oh.
There is a now in this case, there's an old man driving. The old wise man is driving, and there's a young man in there, but he's dead. So that's just, when you said that, I just you know, my heart froze. One of those things in a story that really makes your heart freeze. Now the old man steps out of so now there is no one guiding the vehicle anymore on the smooth path, you know. Yet this I have this problem all the time. I'm trying to drive the car from the back seat. Okay, so you're in the back of the pickup truck, and you're somehow trying to drive the truck, and you somehow collectively drive it. And what happened at the end?
Oh, so then, yeah, so I was able to press on the brake, and then we kind of collectively turned around. But then
Collectively
we're like,
turn it.
yeah. And then I'm sort of, And
okay, so that's the second aspect of the dream. The first one is this wonderful image of the symbols coming up, emerging into our awareness, and then there's the aspect of something wanting to kill it, you know.
Yeah, and then there was a third part too. I don't know if that's
was
what
that?
you were asking, but which was we were sitting at like a boardroom table.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I was going to get to that. So that was the
Oh,
third
okay,
one.
good.
Yeah, the
Sorry
second part is there is, okay, that's the first part. The second part is, the ego is the before there was some aspect that was not under the control of the ego that was driving the vehicle. It abandons the vehicle, and then somehow the ego, with the help of who's collective, if the old man left, who else was in the vehicle?
Apparently the old man comes back in, and it's me and the dead boy.
Okay, so now the old man, you, and the young dead man somehow make the vehicle stop and turn around, but you had to reach in from the back to stop, put something on the brakes.
Yeah.
You know? Okay. So this is very interesting that this who's in control here, who's driving this vehicle, is it under control, is that out of control, is there anyone guiding it, and if it's so, who,
Yep.
there's no sense of who's guiding it. Okay, so then the last one. Now this one, I guess, what I'm saying to start out with, I would look at it from a metaphorical personal level. You can take it to the next level if you want to, but you're in a room of it's a very formal room. This is again the room of the old king. I mean, I'm just getting this thing, and so was it the same old man that was in the second part?
Apparently, yeah.
Yeah, it's the same old man.
Yeah.
Okay, and he has enormous power and enormous incompetence, and we saw that in the first part. He's got enormous power, but enormous incompetence, and that sort of he's sort of connected with the totalitarian people too, and he just talks and talks, but no one can understand him. So, it's just this frustrating sense, which follows on to the fact that no one's guiding the vehicle. No one is guiding. Now, you call it the fate of the Western world, but I would originally say it's the fate of us, of you. The fate of you is in this hands. Now, see, the fate of you it was someone with enormous power and enormous incompetence was also in the fact that he leaves the vehicle and lets you fend for yourself. Okay, now in this sense, the next sense, it's taken to a more urgent level where no one can understand what this person is saying. They're completely incoherent, yet they're enormously powerful and enormously incompetent. Okay, well, Roy, do you give me a time to think about it. Roy, do you have any comments?
Well, yeah, it's uh, the students bringing in the gold scrap parts is the new thing, but there's this old thing that's not ready for it.
Yeah.
And the old man's driving the truck, but Adam takes control of it and he turns it around. So wherever the old man was going, you aren't going that direction anymore. So you change the direction. I think Adam said he was going back. Maybe it's going back to the smooth path, but
Went back home.
that's not gonna work either, because you have to go forward, because you're getting older, things are changing. You can't go back. So that's quite a dilemma. And then the third part, I guess it's the old king again, the guy that was driving the truck. He's incompetent and he has a lot of power. That's not going to help you. You're going to have to get the new thing in there. The king has to get out of the way and the new thing has to take over. That's kind of the theme. A few ideas that if it was my dream.
Yeah, if this was a fairy tale, in each section, there's 3 fairy tales here. In each section, the old king is threatening growth and development. Our fate is threatened by the old attitude. Now, the old attitude, the old king represents some conscious attitude aspect of ourselves. Either it's a persona aspect, or it's an ego aspect within us that is preventing is has put an enchantment or a curse on the healing thing. So in each of the three sections, that's the problem. What do you think, Gary?
Well, in the one part, there's the car parts, which are made of gold, but rusty. And car parts as in junk, so it's like, it's obvious that there's something of, because gold is incredibly valuable. But, here we have something that it's just in the wrong form. It's ready to be melted and reworked. I mean, the value is there, but the form needs to evolve, to change. So, there's a large depth there. It's like, and yet, there's so much that threatens all of it.
Each case. Ivan, do you have any comments?
It's interesting that that there's you said the dead youth next to the old man in the car, and I guess I was uncertain of what the relationship is there, because there's there's something profound there, but I'm not quite grasping what it is.
I'm thinking it's the student. It's kind of the equivalent of the students. You know, so here's this new thing. It's dead. Now the aspect of it is, was it it's riding with the king, so he hasn't really there's an aspect of it that's not living. Let's not even call it dead. It's not living. There's an aspect of it where it isn't living. So the student aspect is there in physical form, but it's not living in us. So what that aspect of the young man within us is not living anymore. See, in the first aspect, the aspect of the young student in us is coming in emerging, but there's an aspect of us that wants to squelch that development. In the second aspect, there is the young man with the same figure of the representing the totalitarian, and yet it's not living. It's not living, and yet it is in the area of guidance. It could be guiding the truck, but it's not living. And the third aspect is just the fact that this thing has enormous power and enormous incompetence. And yet the fate of the Western world, which is really us, is at stake here. In each case, the fate of the Western world is at stake, but it's us that's talking. How about you, Kevin? You have any?
Yeah, I think most of it has been said already. I would like to know more about your association to the old wise man, which you couldn't understand his language, or what associations do you have to him? What thoughts comes up?
Yeah, it's a good question, because like for me, he's not really a wise man. Even just as we're talking, it's coming up for me. It's like he's almost like a garbage man or something. He's like, how could he be driving the truck? I mean, he's gonna kill us. And in fact, he abandons us and entirely like leaves, or is like falling asleep.
Yeah.
Irresponsible, incompetent. So it's Senex. It's really the Senex, not the old wise man, not the self.
Have you managed to connect him with some aspect of yourselves, or anything in your life?
Well, I mean, I'm passing through really a difficult period, which, just to summarize really just briefly, like last year in October, I mentioned to the wider Jung group that I had this like sort of just explosion of like visions and things. And I used to live in a spiritual community, and it was like a union experience, right? So now I'm like grappling with that, and I'm in the position, you know, as a 48-year-old man, having to find a job to support myself. And this is significant for the dream. You know, I applied to graduate school in depth psychology, which to me, it seems like way far out. Like, this is like betting on like the horse, which is, it's the dream horse, you know, at this age, like the stuff I want to do, like work with indigenous peoples and stuff like that. So there is a big part of me, I feel like, that is shutting this down with tons of anxiety and fear. And that's maybe the incompetent old man, you know?
Yeah.
But it's like that's, yeah.
Just the
It's
last,
like- Go ahead.
if you could just mention the last part, which I really find interesting.
Yeah.
You have a gold parking lot. Is a parking lot made of gold?
No, it's in the first part of the dream, it's these students are carrying like automotive parts, like the parts of the body of the car, and they're kind of rusty, but they're all made of gold, like Gary said.
Okay. Yeah. I don't really have comments, but that's really a nice image.
Yeah.
Well, and the smooth path is not available to you right now.
It doesn't, and I
The
want to go
smooth
back,
path-
right? It's easier.
Yeah, the smooth path is not available. And you know, one thing, my brother started a second career late in life, and you know, I was asking this person I really, really respected. You know,
Yeah.
I said, "That's my brother there. He's starting a new career." You know, at the time, I think he was 37, 38. And I said, he'll be 43 when he graduates because he had to go to a year of high school.
Oh, wow.
And I said, I just don't know how he's gonna do, you know, graduating that late. And this guy looks at me and he says, well, tell me, Craig, how old will your brother be in 5 years if he doesn't go to school?
Yes.
And I said, well, he'll be 43. He says, well, do you think it would be better that he be 43 with this new something he really wants to do? I mean, that's one question, is what do we really want to do? Now,
Yeah.
not only what do we really want to do, but is this a path that we need to do before we really want to do something? Or can we combine them? Now, you know, wanting to work with indigenous peoples and everything like that. I mean, having first of all, I think you would be an ideal therapist of any kind.
Huh.
You know, and I don't think you're too far from that. And maybe going to a 4-year program at Pacifica, maybe you could. Do you have a college degree already?
I do, yeah, in anthropology.
Yeah, well,
actually.
you might be able to get something in a master's degree in a couple years then, right? Or
Well,
2 or
it's a
3?
5-year program, 2 years if I just go for the master's and 5 for the PhD. Yeah.
Now, you might want to, I'm just saying, check with Saybrook in Houston. They're a depth psychology school, but I think you could probably get it done quicker there.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
I'll take a
Well,
look.
that's where James Hollis, I don't know if you ever heard of James Hollis.
Yeah, sure.
I think he's retired now, but I would check with Saybrook because they do everything online. I think you have to go to Houston maybe once a year, you know.
Yeah, doable.
Just for one weekend, you know.
Yeah.
But
Interesting.
okay, Charles, you've been having some wonderful comments. Do you have any on this one?
I do. For some reason, some like just clarifying descriptions of the images were coming to mind. So I thought of the students as that's a new way of thinking. That's a new way of going about things, and they're bringing in the useful gold that once worked will combine to create a new way of going forward. And you know, gold is hopefully it's the way forward. It's the uncorruptible way forward. And the old man is simply just outdated way. It's an outdated attitude. It's not necessarily like literally old, or like, yeah, he's obviously not very wise, but it's just very, very outdated. And his power over things is a representation of the amount of control it has over things. That's its power, is the control, and its ability to say no, I would say. And obviously it makes no sense. What its thoughts that it is speaking do not make sense. And the Western world, I don't know if I think that's interesting that it's just the Western world and not, the whole world is at stake. So it makes me think that like it's maybe just like
Conscious attitude. I would say
yeah.
the Western world for us is the more conscious aspect of ourselves.
Yeah, I think I always have dreams about Japan. I need to go to Japan. I'm trying to learn Japanese, or there's some affiliation with Japan. Japan for me is my symbol of my inner world.
Interesting.
And yeah, those are really the thoughts I had. The old man being the outdated way, the outdated attitude. Makes no sense, and it has control. That's where his power is, in the control.
Yeah,
I think it's a wonderful statement on the Tao of this moment. That there is a great conflict between the conventional way and the way of the left-hand path. The great conflict between the smooth path and the left-hand path. So, are we going to take the smooth path or the left-hand path? Right now, there does not seem to be any guidance. The guidance that we have right now is so foggy that we can't decide whether to stand up, sit down, or lie down. And it's extremely powerful because it's urgent, and extremely incompetent because it's so foggy. So we are faced with a very urgent situation, but a situation where there's no clarity, So so there's the who is guiding right now is impossible to say. I mean, it's a situation of suspense, and we don't. There does not seem to be a way of resolving it. I mean, at this point in this dream, I'm not saying that there isn't a way of resolving it, but this dream, there's these three sections of the dream are almost identical. One is the student comes from the new thing in us that could develop. Sometimes maybe we just drop the reins, and just say to hell with it. I'm gonna do. There's three types of artists. There's the artists that everyone recognizes while they're alive, and what a great artist they are. Then the second one is the one who doesn't get recognized and becomes a commercial artist. So he gets a day job. Okay. The third one is what they call the Pratika Buddha, the one who's the Buddha for himself. And he just says, to hell with all of you. I'm going to do what I want, whether you recognize me or not. And so that to me is the left-hand path. The second way is the smooth path, but how we navigate that right now, I say is there's a lack of clarity, and there is I don't know what was the other thing I mentioned. Anyway, but I'm saying that the second section is the same thing. We can go on the smooth path. The first one shows us the left-hand path, but that's being thwarted by the Senex. The second one, which is that conventional part of us that won't let anything new happen. Okay. The second part is that we can go on the smooth path, but the conventional path is enormously powerful and enormously incompetent, and the young aspect of us is not living with this person. It's there in form, but it does not appear to be living. And in the third section, in the realm of decisions, the conventional aspect just talks and talks and talks, but no one can understand it, and it's enormously powerful and enormously incompetent. You know. Well, anyway, Ivan, we didn't get to your dream. Do you think that you might be able to come to? We've been having some private, just some one-on-one Wednesday sessions at the same time. Anybody here can come to them, really, but we're not putting it on YouTube. Could we start with your dream? Are you going to be available Wednesday, Ivan?
Yeah, I think I should be.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're just going to devote 45 minutes or whatever it takes to your dream.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
So
do you want to give us a glimpse of it right now? Could you just tell us?
Yeah, I'm interested.
It's kind of long.
Oh, okay. Well, could you put it in an email or in the text? Okay. Well,
Yeah,
just
I'll write an email.
yeah, just email it to us. Okay. And anybody here that wants to come to a private Wednesday session we have, and just go on and come. But you know, we'll it's not one that we're publicizing or anything. So, but it's Wednesday at 7. So I'll send a link just to us here on it. Okay, Adam and Roy and Kevin, I'm not done. Give me some brooding time. And if anybody of you guys come here, and Roy, I would like to also kind of recapitulate your dream and at some point, you know, I just want to show you the Shoebill stork again. Let's see.
Yeah.
Now, isn't that a face?
Oh, yeah. That's Istubar for me.
Yes.
It's amazing.
Now, you know, they are known actually for that stare is
Oh, yeah.
so numinous that they actually people write articles about that stare. So I think that's
yeah.
one thing that and that he stared at you. Okay, Ivan, we're going to start with you on Wednesday, and I don't care how long it is. Adam, your dream is very, very good, and I want to work on it a little bit more.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. I
All
really
right.
gained a lot from your perspective, so thank you.
Yes, and Kevin, thank you for your dream. I'm going to have to think about yours too. I think we can figure it out if I just spend a little more time on it. So anyway, thanks everybody. It went by too fast tonight. Okay. All right. Well, we'll either convene next Monday, or anybody that wants to attend the private Wednesday is welcome.
Thank you.
Okay. 7 o'clock, Chicago. Okay. See you all later.
See you.
Bye now.
Seeing you all.
Bye.